Obscure Characters Month continues this week with a look at a bot who, in the last few years, has suddenly jumped from deep obscurity to mainstream popularity. The vengeful female Decepticon, Shadow Striker. The original Shadow Striker was released in the Transformers Universe toy line in 2003, available exclusively through the official Transformers convention in a set with her twin sister, Roulette. She was originally going to be named Silhouette so that their names would rhyme, but the trademark wasn't available. The sisters were both recolors of the Robots in Disguise Sideburn toy and transformed into Dodge Viper sports cars, and held the distinction of being the first convention-exclusive Transformers toys to be retooled with new heads. The twins were both originally Autobots, but had taken very different paths in life after their village had been raided by marauders in their youth, and they had been forced to watch their younger sister die. Roulette, a talented sharpshooter, was determined to bring the villains to justice and had gone into law enforcement, becoming part of the Autobot army when the Great War broke out. But Shadow Striker had resolved never to let anyone have power over her again, and joined the criminal underworld. Resourceful, bold, and defiant, she specialized in reconnaissance, thanks to her ability to project a sound-dampening stealth field. Though on opposite sides of the law, the sisters were still close and protective of one another, and they appeared together in the Universe comic book available through the convention, in which they were both abducted by the monster planet Unicron to join his growing army. Optimus Primal was able to rescue Roulette, but Shadow Striker, with one foot already in the dark side, was corrupted by Unicron's evil power and turned against her sister, becoming a Decepticon. The cancellation of the Universe comic meant we never found out how Shadow Striker's story ended, and this version of the character hasn't really appeared since, popping up only in the Transformers Legends mobile game in 2014, under the alternate name Shadow Stalker. Roulette, however, whose colours were based on the Digimon character Sukuyamon, would go on to feature in several more comic books, most notably from IDW Publishing. In IDW's 2016 Optimus Prime series, she appeared as a transformer from the Cybertronian colony of Velocitron, one of several wide-eyed young colonists who came to Earth to serve under the famous Autobot leader as he attempted to establish peaceful relations with humankind, only to find that the legend of Optimus Prime and the fallible real-life Optimus were two very different things. When IDW rebooted their comics in 2019, Roulette also appeared in the new series as a member of the Senate Guard in the days before the war, who was killed by Blitzwing during the Decepticons' uprising. The second bot to bear the name Shadow Striker was part of the live-action movie universe, introduced in the Revenge of the Fallen toy line in 2010. A recolor of the Transformers Universe Autobot Wheelie, who transformed into a street racer, she was a sneering, sarcastic Decepticon, whose unpleasant demeanour had earned her the ire of Bumblebee, with whom she was sold in a 2-pack. The idea of Shadow Striker as a rival for Bumblebee would form the basis of the third incarnation of the character, who finally hit the big time as one of the major Decepticons in 2018's Transformers Cyberverse. This Shadow Striker, the first to be an original design, not just a recolor of a pre-existing toy, was a high-ranking Decepticon officer who transformed into a sports car, a skilled warrior who wielded blasters and blades alike with deadly precision. As seen in the Cyberverse cartoon, during the war on Cybertron, Shadow Striker once succeeded in capturing Optimus Prime. But when Bumblebee came to rescue his leader, a firefight ensued, and one of Bumblebee's shots hit an Energon stockpile, causing an explosion that blew Shadow Striker and her troops to pieces. Shadow Striker's life was saved by Decepticon mad scientist Shockwave, who rebuilt her using pieces of her troops' dead bodies, turning her into a mismatched robotic Frankenstein's monster. with much of her previous combat skill now lost thanks to her glitchy, rebuilt body, forcing her to rely on bigger, clumsier weapons. Shadow Striker blamed Bumblebee for the loss of everything she had been, and held a grudge against him for millions of years. The show's second season would also play Shadow Striker off against the Autobot Prowl a few times. When the Autobots and Decepticons declared a temporary truce, the two even seemed to be striking up a friendship. But when hostilities resumed, Shadow Striker, unintentionally, much to her own apparent shock and dismay, wound up taking Prowl's life when he leapt in front of a blast she fired at Optimus Prime. In the third season, Shadow Striker and Soundwave found themselves losing trust in Megatron as the Decepticon leader began plotting behind their backs, and when the season concluded with Megatron's death, the two decided it was time to put old grudges to rest and finally negotiate peace with the Autobots. In the series finale, this peace was threatened by the arrival of Tarn, a powerful warrior from a parallel universe, who wrested command of the Decepticons away from Soundwave and Shadow Striker and declared war once more, until Shadow Striker led the Decepticons in rising up against their self-proclaimed new master and fighting alongside the Autobots to take Tarn down and ensure a peaceful future for Cybertron. Easily the most prominent, most famous incarnation of Shadow Striker, the Cyberverse version of the character has since been adapted into other series. These have included IDW's aforementioned 2019 comic book, in which she appears semi-regularly as a member of The Rise, the terrorist organization that eventually becomes the Decepticons, serving as part of a unit headed by Slipstream. IDW's Transformers My Little Pony crossover miniseries, and the mobile game Heavy Metal. Notably, this game also features a new Decepticon incarnation of Roulette, who, like the original, is a recolor of Shadow Striker, bringing the two characters' relationship full circle. In all these cases, Shadow Striker appears in a version of her original Cyberverse form, and it remains to be seen if some reimagined version of the accident that required her to be rebuilt into her Frankenstein-like form will happen in future stories. Whatever may come, Shadow Striker's sudden, unexpected leap from a little-known convention exclusive to a major cartoon villain shows how it doesn't always take years of quiet development or a gradual rising in prominence for an obscure Transformer to make it big. And those are the basics on Shadow Striker. Did you know about her before Cyberverse? Sound off in the comments. As always, if you've enjoyed, remember to like, subscribe, or if you can, support the show on Patreon so you don't miss next week's final installment of this year's Obscure Characters Month.